Beyond the Glass Slipper is a podcast designed for women over the age of 55, women who are interested in redefining aging, reframing life, and stepping into their next chapter. This next chapter I call their encore. So there I was the other night. I was preparing my thoughts and writing the content for this episode, which is going to be, it's pillar number 2, community and connection. And I was formulating my thoughts and doing my research. And then I hit that proverbial wall of what direction do I go in? And I decided to stop working momentarily. And of course, what do we do when we need a break? We go and we doom scroll, right? And so I started scrolling, and right in the middle of scrolling, I come across an article written by Dr. Mark Hyman, and it absolutely spoke to me. He was talking about love and connection and how it's an indicator of longevity of people's lives. I mean, how cool was that? It's exactly what I was writing about, and it fit in. So for those of you who don't know Dr. Mark Hyman, let me give credit where it is absolutely due. Dr. Hyman is a functional medicine physician. He's the founder of the Ultra Wellness Center in Lenox, Massachusetts, and he's also the founder and I believe senior advisor for the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine. He is an author of at least 20 books, and I think about 15 of them have been recognized as New York Times bestsellers. The man, the bottom line, he's prolific, he's brilliant, and apparently he's also on Instagram, which I did not know. And so this was a post, and again, he was talking about love, connection, and the relationship to longevity, and it stopped me dead in my tracks because, again, I'm repeating myself, it's pillar number 2. Pillar number 2. As I introduced in episode 1, the 3 pillars of your encore are purpose and intention, community and connection, and mental health and cognitive wellness. Today, we are living inside pillar 2 and what Dr. Hyman and other researchers from around the world have uncovered about why community and connection are not just good for your soul, but essential for your health, your brain, and your longevity. There is a whole lot of good stuff coming your way. But before we go there, I want us to arrive here, fully present, not half listening while the to-do list is ruminating in our background of our minds. So let's get started. Let's get intentional. And I want to share my intention for today. I hope that this episode will encourage you to literally reach out and touch someone in a way that will have long-lasting health benefits for you, and the easiest way to up our quality of life and ensure some additional years. So we're going to start with a breathing exercise next, and while that intention is maybe still retained to some degree, a simple breathing exercise. Each episode will touch on breath work. This is not woo-woo. This is neuroscience. Breathing is honestly something of a wonder drug. It delivers oxygen to the brain, sharpens focus, and supporting long-term cognitive function. It lowers cortisol, our primary stress hormone. It builds emotional resilience, and when we use it intentionally, it actually synchronizes the body's internal rhythms, supporting both longevity and emotional stability. We are about to do together what is called heart coherence breathing. And I chose this particular practice to open our conversation about love, connection, and community because it is not just a breathing exercise. It is a way of settling your nervous system first so that we what we're discussing today lands somewhere real. Here is what the research tells us. When we extend the exhale to roughly twice the length of the inhale, we physically signal to the brain that is safe. Safe to move out of survival mode. Safe to open up. Safe to connect. That extended exhale stimulates the vagus nerve, which lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate and it moves you out of a defensive state and into what researchers call a social engagement state. So it was perfect. It was perfect because we're talking about social engagement, right? When we finish this practice, your brain and body will actually be more receptive to everything we talked about. This is not a coincidence. This is intentional. This is also what I call a micro habit for cognitive wellness and resilience. I normally would do more rounds, but for the purpose of just kind of demonstrating this and bringing us into the present moment, we're just going to do 3. So we're going to place our hand gently over our heart center, inhale slowly through our nose for a count of 4, and then we're going to hold for a count of 5, and then if it's possible, I want you to exhale for a total of 8 counts, but if you're not comfortable with that, try to get 6. So between 6 and 8 on the exhale with a soft swoosh sound if you can, okay? So we're going to inhale to a count of 4 and hold for a count of 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Now exhale to a count of up to 8. Well done. Let's try again and take a nice deep breath in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale to a count of 8, and hopefully you feel your shoulders dropping, your mind quieting, and let's try another inhale to the count of 4. Hold 5 and exhale 6 or to 8 if you can. Hopefully that has helped you to ground yourself a little bit. When we show up with increased curiosity, we do so because we're grounded and more open to the possibilities. So let's continue. Dr. Hyman asks the question, what do the longest living, most joyful people in the earth have in common? Not their diet, not their supplement routine, not their exercise protocol. It is a sense of belonging, community, connection, love. And then he says that what works better than exercise, diet, or even meditation in determining the quality and the length of your life is love and relationships. Now, we know that connection matters for mental health. That is exactly why it is one of our 3 pillars, and we know that community has documented health benefits. But I will be honest with you, I was not fully aware of just how profoundly our relationships and the quality of those relationships directly affect how long we live. That was the part that got me. And I would love to hear whether it surprises you too. Go to our website, find the Connect page, and tell us your thoughts. If you have a story around this topic, and I suspect many of you do, this is exactly the moment to share it. And ladies, between you and me, if we get enough of a conversation going around Dr. Hyman's work, maybe that miracle happens and he joins us. Just another one of those magical moments. So here is what the research tells us. And what I want you to really sit with are these numbers. A lack of social connection increases the risk of premature death by approximately 26 to 29%. It is strongly linked to higher rates of heart disease, stroke, dementia, anxiety, and depression. And people with strong, meaningful social ties, people who are actively connecting, who have relationships they invest in, are 50% more likely to survive over time compared to those with poor or limited social connections. That finding comes from a landmark meta-analysis that looked at data across hundreds of thousands of people over many years. It is one of the most replicated findings in the field of social health research. 50%, huh? That's a pretty large number. Now, here is the comparison that researchers keep returning to, and Dr. Hyman states it plainly. Being lonely and socially isolated carries health risks equivalent to smoking. Now, there's research that, Dr. Hyman talks about 2 packs of cigarettes a day. There's research out there that talks about 13 cigarettes a day. In any case, that's a lot of cigarettes. 2 packs a day, really, I don't know of anyone who would look at a pack of cigarettes and say, yeah, you know what, I'll take 2 of those, thank you. And yet many of us, without realizing it, are carrying that same level of health risk simply by not tending to our social world. The World Health Organization has labeled loneliness as a global epidemic in 2024. Governments from around the world, the United States, Japan, I think it's Sweden, Kenya, Chile, and Morocco, issued a joint statement naming social connection as a public health crisis. One more number, and then I promise to move on, because whatever, I don't want to drown us in data, but I want us to be motivated. Approximately 24% of Americans aged 65 and older are considered socially isolated. Among adults over 60, 43% report feeling lonely. It's nearly half of us. Again, we're not just talking about the data, we're talking about our neighbors, our friends, and if we are completely honest with ourselves, sometimes we're talking about ourselves. So, what I find absolutely riveting about the research, including Dr. Hyman's, is that his work and the work of other researchers, he does not just tell us connection matters. What I find absolutely riveting about Dr. Hyman's work is that he does not just talk or tell us connection matters. He explains exactly what is happening inside of us when we connect with people we love. In a recent post, he says it directly. Connection literally changes our biology. It describes something called psychogenomics. It's the study of how our relationships affect gene expression. So stay with me here for a minute. This is extraordinary. When we are having a warm, loving, genuinely connected conversation, our anti-inflammatory genes turn on. Your healing and repair genes activate. Your body is saying, I am safe, I am cared for. Let's build something. But when you are isolated, or there is one, this one really resonated with me, when you are surrounded by relationships or in a relationship that is draining you rather than restoring you, the opposite happens. Stress hormones rise, inflammation increases, your body shifts into a kind of low-grade energy state. It is worth pausing on that. Not all company is good company. The quality of our connections matter just as much as the presence of them. He goes on to describe that what happens when things go right beautifully. He says that when we have a tribe to lean on, when we feel a genuine sense of belonging, we tap into our own inner pharmacy. It's not his doctor's pharmacy. He is quick to point that out, but it's the biochemistry lab that already exists inside each of us. That gave me the chills the first time I read it. The brain research is just as compelling because higher levels of social engagement among older adults are associated with greater total brain volume, healthier gray matter, particularly in regions responsible for social understanding. Researchers sometimes call this the social brain, and it quite literally grows healthier the more we stay connected. On the other side of that, of course, the social isolation is associated with a 35% increase in mortality risk. And those who are most isolated are approximately 50% more likely to develop dementia. So, if that doesn't make us want to stop this podcast right now and reach out to someone, call someone you haven't spoken in a while, and make a real, clear, concrete connection. So anyway, there's this small community in Rosita, Pennsylvania. And the residents were mostly Italian immigrants who had come over together from a tiny village in Italy. And those people, despite eating a diet rich in all the foods that do not support they do not support health in any way. They're supposed to shorten your life. They're high fats. They smoke. Despite no particular exercise regimen, they live significantly longer and had dramatically lower rates of heart disease than the surrounding communities. Researchers were baffled by this. They examined everything: diet, genetics, water supply, exercise habits. Nothing explained it until they looked at the community itself. Rosita was extraordinarily close-knit, multi-generational homes, neighborhoods gathered together, or the neighbors in the neighborhood gathered on porches. The community celebrations that they held, there was a deep woven connection, unspoken sense of belonging. The medicine was not in the food. The medicine was in the belonging. And Dr. Hyman says it plainly. Community is medicine. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I hope you are beginning to as well. I think back on stories that, just about little neighborhoods that I knew of. And I see community as the structure of your social world. It is the groups you belong to, the people you see regularly. It's a book club, a fitness club. But what's as important, or actually it's a little bit more important than the community itself, is the connection that you make. It is feeling truly seen by these people in your community. It is being valued. It's not just being present in a room. It's not, it's not just showing up for every event that's on the calendar. It's not about just smiling and chatting and going through all the right motions. And when you go home, you're still feeling profoundly alone. Researchers describe that experience as loneliness, and it is entirely subjective. It's not about how many people surround you. It's about whether you feel genuine closeness and a sense of belonging. I know that feeling, and I know that many of you do too. Life transitions have a way of quietly dismantling the social structures we thought were permanent: a divorce, a move, retirement, children leaving the nest, a friendship that simply drifted. You look up one day and the landscape of your social world looks very different from what it once did. I have learned personally, not just from the research, that rebuilding your community requires intention. It does not happen by accident. I relocated and had to build a new network of friends. Relationships changed for me. My grandchildren are getting older. The dynamics are all changing. It's a dynamic situation, and everything shifts. And I know that firsthand. And as I become more intentional about the connections I cultivate, letting people in, reaching out, building something new, I have felt more peaceful, more energized, more aligned with where I am going. This is what led me here, to this microphone, to you. Building this community of like-minded women in the encore years is not a business strategy. It grew directly out of my own life, my own need, and a deep conviction that no woman should have to navigate this chapter, the chapter I call her encore, alone. So, building and maintaining community in our encore encore years takes more deliberate effort than it once did. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, as we're raising our children, it's like an instant community. Our children become friendly with other children. We start to do carpools, and there's our community, there's our connection. As we get older, things start to change. Things even physically in us start to change. Our mobility. I know women say that it's sometimes harder to get out, or they don't care to drive at night. So that's going to change your social world without a doubt. If you're not choosing to drive at night and you don't have anyone that can pick you up, you're going to miss that dinner with friends because it's, guess what, easier to stay home alone. Or I'll tell you, a lot working as an SLP and the amount of patients that I've come across and the stories that I've heard from my patients where a loved one will not get their hearing checked. But what they notice is that their dad is they're no longer socializing because engaging with others is extremely difficult because they can't hear the conversation that's going on. So it's easier to just avoid the situation entirely. So as we get older, there's different challenges, but it doesn't mean that we can't do our best every day to be more intentional about the things that we want, the changes that we want to see in our life, because it all comes down to our quality of life and how we want to live our encore years, right? And in addition, I mean, these are not excuses. They are realities, and they deserve to be named with honesty and with compassion. Dr. Hyman himself speaks from his own experience how easy it is to look up one day and realize your social world quietly got smaller. While you were focusing, he was busy in medical school. He was busy building a practice. We can all relate to that. And it was interesting, during the pandemic, he chose to do something that I think is really pretty cool, is that he contacted his friends and said, hey, let's get together. We're all in different places. We can't get together in person, so let's do it over Zoom. And he describes it as a beautiful thing to have somewhere you can be seen and known. And I mean, if you think about it, I mean, one of the most respected physicians in the world is out scheduling he's not out, but he's scheduling weekly Zoom calls with his friends. I mean, every single one of us is figuring this out, right? And so small steps that make a real difference. So what can we actually do? Here it is, what I want you to take away. It does not have to be dramatic. And the research and myself and Dr. Hyman, we are all clear on this. You do not need a large social circle. You need a few genuine, invested, reciprocal relationships, quality over quantity every single time. And what that looks like will be completely different for every woman. Regular phone calls, video calls with someone you love, a weekly walk with a neighbor, volunteering somewhere that matters to you. You join a book club, return, many people moved away from, the faith community, and the participation dropped because of COVID. Many people are returning and going back into the church or the temple or what have you. Maybe an online group if your mobility is reduced, and showing up somewhere consistently. Maybe a coffee shop, maybe a yoga studio, going to the library where faces become familiar and people notice when you are not there. I think about my mom all the time. She lived to 94, and until she was 92, we were out every weekend. We were shopping and manicures and lunch and theater. She was tough in a lot of ways, but to the outside world saw this woman as someone genuinely, effortlessly, magnificently being a social being. I used to tell her that her portrait should be hung at the entrance of Macy's in East Brunswick, New Jersey, because every single sales associate knew her name, knew her story, knew that she came from Pennsylvania and that her family called her Muncie. They would chase her down just to have her check out at the register, to the point that they shared their employee discount with her. She talked to everyone, whether or not they were ready for it. I'm telling you, from the entrance of a restaurant to being seated at a table, my mother would learn at least one person's name. She would find out what they ordered. If they had eaten there before, she found that out. She'd ask for recommendations. She made people feel that they mattered in about 90 seconds. And my Aunt Emma, she'll be 99 on her next birthday. 99. Still a social butterfly. She still plays bridge, although she's starting to experience a little bit of cognitive decline. But the important thing here is that in her assisted living facility, they call her Miss Hollywood. And there is not one of my girlfriends, I mean, a lot of my golf girlfriends met her because she was a golfer and she'd come down and we'd all golf together. There is not one of my girlfriends that does not ask about her on a regular basis. Even some of them reach out to her directly now. They have developed a relationship. She leaves behind a mark wherever she goes and is loving life. I have good genes, but I will be honest, I think I need to up my social outreach skills just a little. Research confirms that what my mom and my Aunt Emma seem to know instinctively, living with others, maintaining regular contact with friends and family, and engaging weekly in community activities are all associated with better cognitive outcomes. Slower memory decline. My aunt's memory didn't start to decline until about a year ago. Better brain health, greater resilience, and one clinical trial found that regular internet-based conversations, not scrolling, but actual back and forth connection conversations, reduce cognitive decline and social isolation among adults over 75. And I have to tell you, with regard to Dr. Hyman's research and something I experienced, I have a family, I have first cousins, 4 girls that reside in Pennsylvania. They are now, 2 of them are now great-grandparents, and the other 2 are not yet. But the bottom line is my one first cousin, she's in her early 80s, and you can just feel the love. When you go on to their posts, and I tell them this all the time, you can see it in their pictures. They do everything together. It's one's birthday, they're all there. I mean, 3 generations of people celebrating, and it's incredible. And again, Dolores is leading the way in age, and her husband is 10 years, I believe, her senior, and he is still doing well. It'll be interesting to see where this family ends up, but the love, that you can just feel their love, and I have to believe it has helped them along the way. So I am going to ask you to take a connection challenge, okay? I want you to leave you with something not to think about, but something to do. Your challenge this week, and I am calling it a challenge because I want you to actually take it. It is to reach out to someone you have not spoken to in a while, not a text, a real reach out, a call, make a plan, extend an invitation, go to happy hour with a friend or friends that you have not seen in months. Look up local meetup groups in your area. There are groups for every interest, every stage of life, every personality type, and you do not have to like everyone in the room. You just need one good conversation with one good person to see where the possibilities lead. If you are not sure where to start, go on social media and search, again, for the local meetup groups. The opportunities are truly endless once you start looking. You don't have to overhaul your social life this week, or you just have to make one move. One call, one cup of coffee with someone, one yes to an invitation. So let me leave you with this. Love, connection, and community are not luxuries. They are not rewards for when life finally slows down or things get easier. They are a fundamental ingredient of a long, healthy, meaningful life. The science is saying it. Of course, Dr. Hyman is saying it. The World Health Organization is saying it. And I'm saying it too. You deserve a life full of people who see you. Conversations that light you up. A community where you belong, not in spite of who you are at this extraordinary stage of life, but because of exactly who you are. This is your encore, and you do not have to write that script alone. If any part of today's episode landed for you, please share it. Send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Post it. Tag us. Every woman you bring into this circle is one more woman who knows she is not navigating this chapter alone, and that matters more than I can say. Come find us at beyondtheglassslipper.com. The blogs are there, the Encore Brain Center, and there's always something waiting for you. And while you are there, please sign up for the Encore Women's Circle. When you do, I will send you a 7-day quick start guide called Tending to Your Garden. It's intentional, small intentional steps towards leading a life that is truly, authentically yours. Because an intentional life, like a beautiful garden, does not happen by accident. It is cultivated one deliberate day at a time. So that concludes our episode for today. Say yes to your encore. Go to the show notes for links. You can always reach me at beyondtheglassslipper55@gmail.com. I read every message, and I genuinely cannot wait to hear from you. Until next week, please stay curious, and remember, this is not the end of anything. This is your beginning. I am Cindy, a voice for women in their encore, and this is Beyond the Glass Slipper. So, ladies, if anything resonated with you today and you have a friend that you think might benefit, please share. Also, go to our website, beyondtheglassslipper.com, and I hope that you'll join the Encore Women's Circle. You can find it on our Connect page, and I look forward to you joining the conversation and meeting you soon.